From 1988 until when this film was released, it took us 20 years to get the next chapter in the John Rambo saga. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to my channel. And the movie I'm referencing, the one we're going to talk about today, is Rambo 4. Or when it was released theatrically, it was Rambo. I'm going to do the extended cut now. And an extended cut, when the titles come up, it's John Rambo, which is the title Stallone originally wanted to go out as. But for some reason, the studio talked him into just sitting out Rambo. Why, I don't know. This movie came out, the theatrical version came out January 25th of 2008. It's rated R. Had a budget of $50 million, which was less of a budget than what Rambo 3 had. Rambo 3 had a $63 million budget. Upon release in the U.S., it made $42.7 in the U.S., and worldwide, it made $113. So it did make some money. Hence why we got Last Blood. And I just did a review for that extended cut last week. I got some reviews to do this one, so here I am. We're doing it, and I love this film. I really like this film. It's a really good Rambo entry. And this film was co-written by Stallone, and he directed the movie. Although he wasn't originally who they were intending to direct it. They actually were thinking about Dick Donner, who Stallone has a relationship with because he did Assassins with Dick Donner, and James Mangold, who Stallone worked with on Copland. But eventually Stallone decided to direct it, which this is the only Rambo film that Stallone has ever directed. Now, some would say, and there's rumors, that he did direct Rambo First Blood Part 2, but that's never become official or anything. There was always rumors that he really directed that film, but who knows if that's true. It's all conjecture at this point. And this film came out 20 years after the release of Rambo 3. Rambo 3 was released in 1988, and this was released in 2008. And I saw this in the movies when it was released. Let's go down the cast here. We got Sylvester Stallone as John Rambo, one of my favorite characters of all time. Julie Benz plays Sarah. She's a part of this Christian group that wants to go into Burma. Matthew Marsden plays Schoolboy. He used to be an SAS soldier, and now he's kind of a gun for hire kind of guy. Graham McTavish is Lewis. He's in the same boat. Used to be an SAS operative, and now he's kind of like a gun for hire. And Paul Schultz plays Michael Brunette, and he is the leader of this Christian group that wants to go in to Burma and help out the Karen freedom fighters, give medical attention, Bibles, stuff like that. And right at the beginning of the film, we see news footage or news reports about what has been going on in Burma for the last 50 years. And pretty much a dictator runs Burma. It's a horrible place, and they're trying to kill off these Karen freedom fighters. And then we go to Rambo, and he's been living in Thailand, which is right down the river from Burma. We perceive since the end of Part 3. He says he's been there for a really long time. They never specify that, but you assume he's been there since the end of Rambo Part 3. And he's a snake wrangler. He goes out and catches snakes for this guy who runs this snake show. And he has a couple guys with him, but he doesn't do a lot of talking. Rambo's definitely a loner. And right at the beginning of the film, you could get the sense that Rambo has given up on the world. He just wants to live his life, be left alone, and do his thing. Even when he comes back with the snakes, the guy that runs the snake show says something about, I need pythons, no more cobras. I got plenty of cobras. And he just goes, fuck you, or something, and walks away. And even later on, he's putting snakes in these cages, and that's when Michael Burnett and his group, Julie Benz, and his group of Christians show up. And he approaches John Rambo, and he starts talking to him, saying about they heard that he knows the river better than anybody, and they like to rent his boat for him to take them up into Burma. And Rambo's like, well, why are you going into Burma? And he's like, well, we're gonna pass out Bibles, we're gonna give medical attention to anybody that needs it, and just try to give them support. And he goes, are you taking weapons with you? And he goes, of course not. He goes, well, then you're not changing a goddamn thing. And Paul Schultz's character is like, well, thinking like that's why things will never change. He goes, and Rambo's like, just blows him off. And he starts to leave, and then Sarah, Julie Benz, comes running over. She wants to give it a try, and she starts talking to him. And as soon as Rambo lays eyes on her, it's almost like as she starts talking, and almost you could see a change in his demeanor a little bit. He's not so cold towards her. And it's not anything other than I think she gives Rambo hope in the world. He's lost all hope in the world after what he's been through, what he's seen, and even coming to terms with what he is. He knows he's good at killing people. He knows he's good. He's a killing machine, and he's just trying to live a peaceful life and be left alone. And Sarah comes back 2 more times after this. He says no, and they leave. And she comes back, and the last one, when he goes towards his boat, he has this little shack where he sleeps in, and she's sitting in the boat, and they have this long, in the extended cut, it's a longer interaction, and in the theatrical cut, it's not this long. they're standing on the dock in the rain, and she's explaining that she believes in this mission and she wants to go, and it's her life and she'll make the decisions. And Rambo's like, still like, you should go home. And he starts going about how it's a war up there, and then he feels comfortable enough with her to start sharing things, not directly, but he starts talking about war in general. And I'm going to recite some of his dialogue here. He goes, "But it ain't your country who asks you. It's a few men up top who want it. Old men start it, young men fight it. Nobody wins. Everybody in the middle dies, and nobody tells the truth." Which is kind of a callback to First Blood, when he's going, we could have won the war, but somebody wouldn't let us win, and then we come back to the world, and people are spitting on us, calling me baby kid, stuff like that. Like, he's still affected by that. It still bugs him that he gave his all for his country and was never accepted back into society. And the lies the government told that they could have won. I mean, he kind of goes into it a little bit. He shares more with her than he probably has anybody in a really long time since Colonel Troutman passed away. And then finally he relents and says, "I'll take you." And he takes them up the river, and they get stopped by these river pirates. And Rambo's like, "Keep your heads down, don't say a goddamn word, because they'll kill us all." And as soon as the pirates come up, Rambo tries to diffuse the situation, but these guys aren't having it. And the whole time, though, you can see Rambo just checking all these guys out, what weapons they have, if he thinks they're proficient with them, and just sizing them up to see what he'd have to do if he has to act. And then the pirates notice Sarah, and he realizes they'll rape her and kill her, and he acts and he kills all of them. It's so quick and a violent just outburst, and then it's over, and all the pirates are dead, which bother the Christians, but they talk him into taking them the rest of the way into Burma, and he drops them off. And they stop at the first village, and they're giving medical care, handing out Bibles, trying to help out. And the army shows up, and they start killing everybody, women, children, men. And they take Sarah, Michael, and two other gentlemen in their group hostage with a couple women. And that's Rambo. Then we cut to Rambo. This is like a flashback. He's dreaming. He's on his dock in his hammock. It's raining, and he's dreaming. And you see flashbacks from all the films. First Blood Part 2, Part 3. And then we get to see, right at the end of his dream, we get to see the alternate ending of First Blood that we've always read about, the scene where, and out of the book, because this is what happened in the book, Colonel Troutman shoots and kills Rambo. And he hears somebody yelling, "Rambo, John Rambo." And we see that scene where he goes, puts his head on Troutman's shoulder, and he shoots him in the stomach. And we see that scene, finally, after all these years, it's there. And then he wakes up, and the minister from their church in Colorado who sent these missionaries shows up and explains to Rambo what happened, and he tells him he has some men that have experience in this part of the world that are willing to go, and Rambo takes them. And then once they get there, and in the last 20 minutes is nothing but one long action scene. From the time they break in this prison camp, get the people out, to the time they have their final confrontation by the river, and we see Rambo on the 50 cal machine gun just mowing guys down, unleashing hell on these scumbag army dudes from Burma. And it's all exciting. It's all well shot. It's gory as hell. It's like a goddamn horror movie. But it's all well done. And at the end of the movie, I know when I saw it the first time, I was just like, yes, that kicked ass. And at the end of the film, the way it ends is just poetic. It's just John Rambo decides to go back to America. You see him on his highway, and there's this mailbox that says R. Rambo on it, and this ranch out in the distance. And as the credits roll, you see John Rambo walking down this driveway, and we know he went home. And honestly, the series could have ended there. I do like Last Blood. I gave it a very positive review last Friday. This film I actually like a little bit more. And I think the extended cut doesn't add any more violence, but it adds enough more character beats, just like Last Blood, that it gives Rambo a little bit more interactions with Sarah. Their interactions are longer, and we get to flesh out Rambo's psyche, what he's thinking, what his motivations are in life. And it's a better film, just like Last Blood Extended Cut's a better film than the theatrical version. Not that I don't like the theatrical version, because I do. This is a better version. I would rate this film an 8.75 out of 10. I think it's really, really well done. I think it's the closest to First Blood we've been, because Part 2 and Part 3 are more action-oriented. And this one has a lot of action as well, but I think this one, in tone, as the character, is closer to First Blood. I might be crazy, but that's what I think. So yeah, 8.75 out of 10 for the John Rambo Extended Cut. Have you seen this cut? What are your thoughts? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. Share this video. I greatly appreciate it. I will be back soon on the review. You all take care of each other, and I'll be back. See ya. Bye.